Hey, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and welcome to the Telltale TV Adaptation Series, Season 2, Episode 12. This one is titled Pines. So, this episode is going to kind of focus on Clementine's group primarily, as well as Kenny. We know Kenny recently escaped from Carver's camp, and Carver and Lily were heading off to actually go find where Kenny, or not where Kenny is, but find where Rebecca and the group is that they were after, right? So, that's where we left off with them, and then with Clementine's group, they just got over the bridge and just got to the Matthews shed where he had a bunch of food and supplies in it, and they were going to go raid it to see what they can get from the shed. So the episode begins with Kenny walking down the road, and he comes across 3 walkers. He takes them out with his new hatchet that he got in the back of that truck that he was in, that he stole from Carver's camp, of course. And rain starts coming down pretty heavy, so he takes cover in a nearby barn. The barn is clear from any walkers, so he just takes a seat and rests for a few seconds as he then hears someone outside. So Kenny gets on the second floor of the barn to see what's happening, and he sees that outside there's someone running from a bunch of walkers. This person is firing a handgun shot. He's firing some handgun shots at the herd, and this man, his name is Darius. He's a 26-year-old dude with some long, luscious hair. He's well built, pretty thick, And he pulls out a pickaxe and starts going ham on the walkers as he runs out of bullets in his pistol. He decides to run to the barn, and Kenny gets to cover quickly to hide from this man, but he steps on a bad piece of wood on the second floor of the barn, and he comes falling down through the floor. He lands hard, cuts his leg on a broken piece of wood, and he is now injured. And Darius is surprised to see someone else here as the walkers come in towards Kenny and Darius. Darius pulls Kenny to the back of the barn as he tells Kenny to cover him. Darius kills some walkers with his pickaxe as Kenny uses his AK-47 from the ground and takes out a couple of the walkers. They finish all of them off, and Darius thanks Kenny for the help as he notices his leg. Darius asks if he's with anyone, and Kenny says he's alone. Darius says he's in a small group up at his ski lodge. If he wants to come with him for some medical help, they have someone who can stitch him up. Darius says he's got a car not too far from here, so he can take him to the car and they can head back. The walkers just kind of distracted him when he was trying to hunt a deer. Darius helps Kenny walk to his car. Then we go over to Clem's group, and they are still relaxing at Matthew's shed. Luke finishes packing up some food and supplies from the shed for the road, and Clem goes to talk to Nick to make sure he's okay, and Nick is clearly broken. He tells Clem that he had to shoot his mom. He tells her that when his father turned and bit his mom, he was the one to have to put her down, and Luke shot his father, but he had to put his own mother down after watching her suffer with a big chunk of her neck missing from her father turning and attacking him. Nick says he hasn't been the same since then. Nick says Uncle Pete was like another father to him, and he says it's a good thing Luke took his rifle because he isn't okay right now, and he probably shouldn't have a gun. Clem tells Nick that he has other people who care about him here, so all of his family is not dead. He still has family here. Nick says it's going to happen to you all eventually anyways. Even if Carver doesn't catch up to us, it'll be done by walkers or someone else or worse. Clem tells him to stay positive. Luke tells everyone that they got to head out now. He looks at the map and says they got to get over to those mountains. Carlos says it isn't really a good idea to explore mountains like that without knowing what's up there, especially with Rebecca. How the hell are we going to walk up there? Luke says it's the only way. Even if we try to go the other way, they're all covered by rivers, and no one here has a boat hidden in their pockets, so what are they going to do about it? Alvin takes a look at the map with Luke as he notices they aren't even that far from Carver's camp. They're actually not even heading in the opposite direction of it. They kind of circled back around a little bit, and Luke says they are still far enough. It's just they had to head this way to get across the mountain. Every other way is covered by rivers or down by that broken bridge down south where we really can't go. If they wanted to head north, this is the only way. Clem decides to finally ask if they have heard about Wellington. She never really thought of asking them, but she decided it was a good time at least. Clem tells him about the signs and the little cassette tapes. She says it's in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and that's where her and Krista were headed. The group all look at each other as Alvin says that's better than headed nowhere. And Luke says they are headed north anyways, so they might as well try. Carlos says they still have to figure out how to get across this mountain. Luke tells them they'll figure it out as they continue down the trail next to the mountain. Back with Kenny, Darius drives Kenny all the way up to the ski lodge up on the mountain. He brings Kenny inside the ski lodge as he says hi to a woman named Anne at the front entrance. And this is a 30-year-old woman. She's blonde and, just normal looking, I guess. Not really too much distinctly about her. And Darius brings Kenny into the living room of the lodge and calls over a man named Walter to help him out and stitch up his leg. Kenny asks if Walter's a doctor, and Walter says he isn't or wasn't, but because of everything that happened, he kind of had to learn and teach himself. So books can do a lot more for you than you'd think. He pours some antibacterial alcohol over Kenny's leg, and he gets to work as someone walks in the room. The person that walks in the room is Sarita. Kenny is in shock as Sarita runs over to hug Kenny while he's on the couch. Walter, Darius, and Anne are surprised to see the fact that they know each other, and Sarita starts to even tear up from joy as Kenny asks what the hell happened to her. She says way too much. They both hold each other tight as Walter says he's got to continue working on his leg. They're back at Clem's group. They make it to the entrance of a ski resort as they see a ski lift headed up to the mountain to a ski lodge. Luke notices a light on inside of the lift control room, and he pulls the lever as it starts moving up the lift. He quickly stops it, and he's quite surprised to see that it even works the way it does. And we can assume it works because Walter is up there, therefore they have generators, therefore they're powering up the systems at this ski resort. But obviously Luke doesn't know that, so they're a little confused. He tells the others he just found a perfect way to get up the mountain. Alvin says no way in hell he's getting up in that thing, and Rebecca tells him to quit being such a baby, and he's got to get his ass in there. Luke says someone's got to pull the lever, so he'll stay down here to pull it, and then he'll walk his way up afterwards. Clem says she'll stay with him. Luke asks if she's sure, and she says she needs some back. He's gonna need some backup, so might as well. Luke says, "All right, works with me." Back at the ski lodge, Kenny and Sarita talk after Walter finishes patching his leg up. Kenny tells Sarita he waited at the house for months. Sarita says she washed up on some random shore and she tried to get back home, but she ran into a million obstacles on her way back. She says she eventually gave up and she found one of those Wellington signs and decided to go there. And Kenny says he was headed in the same direction. Sarita says then she saw the signs that said they aren't letting anyone else in, but she says this lodge is really a perfect home, so there's really no reason to go to Wellington anyways. Kenny says there's a camp at a hardware store not too far from here, led by a maniac, and he was just trapped there for a bit. Sarita tells Kenny that Darius told them about seeing a place like that, but they didn't want to risk the wonderful home they have here, so they never investigated this place. Kenny says if they ever find this place, they are in danger. These people are monsters. Sarita says they survived here for a while. They'll be okay. People don't really tend to come up these mountains anyways. Walter walks in as Kenny asks if their group is just them four, as Walter says it's them four plus one more guy who's on a supply run right now, and he should be back. Should be back any minute now, actually. Walter offers him some bean soup as Kenny accepts thankfully. Back at the ski lift, everyone gets on the lift beside Clem and Luke as Luke pulls the lever. The lift starts to head up, just as Clem tells Luke to listen closely. They see a large group of walkers coming from the woods on the hill leading up the mountain. There's a flat spot on the hill that's not all the way up, but it's still a flat spot so the walkers can stand on it without them falling down the mountain. Some of them try to follow the lift up as the other ones just kind of roll down the mountain because, walkers can't really control hills that well. And they start rolling down towards Clem and Luke really fast. Luke tells Clem to be ready as the walkers start flying at them one by one, rolling down the hill. Some of them just smack their heads into the lift control room, but others get up and attack Clem and Luke. Clem uses Matthew's knife as Luke uses his machete. Those in the lift notice what's happening as the lift suddenly stops almost to the top. Luke notices this as he tries to pull the lever back and forth, but it seems like the controls have shut off for whatever reason. More walkers come, which force them to fight back. The other walkers surround underneath the lift itself. Clem is forced to pull out her .38 snub-nosed revolver and start shooting some walkers. Back at the ski lodge, the group is eating dinner as they hear the gunshots from the mountain below. The group all get up with rifles and handguns to see what's happening, but Kenny stays behind with Sarita because of his foot, of course. Walter, Darius, and Anne go out, and they see the mayhem going on at this hill, the ski lift, obviously. He yells at those in the lift, and he tells them that they got to get out from the top of the hatch and climb across the wires to the top where they can climb down from the ladder. He says they don't use the ski lift. It's not really working. It's not a working condition, and they've been trying to get it to work. Some of the walkers start heading up the hill as Darius and Anne hold them back. Luke and Clem finish off their walkers as they start heading up the hill to reach the others. Alvin slowly crawls across the wires on top of the ski lift as he makes it safely to a little platform where you can climb down the ladder at the top. Rebecca follows Alvin across the wires as well. Nick goes, and then Sarah. Carlos is shortly behind Sarah. Sarah slips, though, and is forced to hang on the wires with just her hands whilst dangling over walkers below. Carlos quickly grabs Sarah's hand as the others come help and pull Carlos onto the top of the platform safely with Sarah. They are okay. Luke and Clem finally make it up the hill, so they take out the last of the walkers with Walter, Darius, and Anne. The others climb down the ladder of the top flat platform of the ski lift, and Luke thanks them for their help as Walter introduces himself and his group, as Luke does the same for his group. Walter says they got dinner cooking up if they want to bite. They got plenty extra. Luke says they can't. They need to be on the road right now, as Carlos says they can take like a night break, and they're okay with that. It won't hurt them. Luke says all right, and he just allows it as he decides to head in with Walter and the others. The group set down their things as Walter says it's okay if they leave their weapons at the door. They don't need them. Nick asks Luke if they should be trusting these people, and Luke says they don't seem like trouble. They walk up the stairs into this beautiful ski lodge as Clem sees Kenny on the couch. She is in shock at first. Kenny is kind of in shock too as he is sitting next to Sarita on the couch. Clem just decides to run over and hug Kenny. Sarita is quite surprised to see this. Everyone else in the group questions how they know each other, and Kenny says his little nugget was with him for a long time in the beginning. Walter says that Kenny seems to know a lot of people, huh? And Kenny says, yeah, well, it's a small world. Walter says dinner's ready now if they want to go eat. Kenny tells Clem he's got to eat from the couch considering his leg is all messed up, and he tells Clem what happened to his leg in the barn. Clem also asks what the hell happened with him through everything as Kenny starts telling Clem basically everything. And he says she grew up a lot. And Clem was like, yeah, I mean, it's been 2 years. Kenny tells her about meeting Sarita and then Aaron and coming across Omid. And Clem is very surprised to hear that he came across Omid. And she says she was with Omid and Krista for a bit until they lost Omid and couldn't find him. Kenny says that Omid was still looking for Krista. Kenny also tells her about Roman and Carver and all of that. And Clem tells Kenny that Carver is actually after her group over there. Kenny is suddenly alarmed by this as he tells Clem to call their group over. They talk about Carver as Kenny tells them about what happened with that. Darius is suddenly worried that they have people with bounties on their heads in their home, and he argues with Walter about kicking them out, but Walter says they'll be fine. The group just keeps discussing this problem with Carver and what the hell they should do as they talk about going to Wellington, but then Kenny tells the group about the fact that the Wellington is basically no more. They found signs that were saying that Wellington is not accepting any new members, therefore there's no point in them going there in the first place. They're kind of alarmed by this, but Walter says they need to stay calm. The fact that this place is very hidden, not many people come up here, but then Alvin's like, well, we kind of just got here pretty easily. And, well, not pretty easily, but, he says that they got up there still. And they're kind of alarmed by this a little bit. Then the shot goes over to Carver's group. And Carver's group has reached the quicksand in the woods that the group was in episode 10. And Carver finds Pete, who is turned into a walker. He's got all his, guts spilled out, though, from being eaten alive, basically. And Pete kind of gets up a little bit as Carver stabs a knife through his eye. And Carver realizes it's Pete, so he's kind of like, holy shit. He gets a good look, and then he just gets up and says that they're close. And boom, that's the end of the episode. So episode 12, pretty solid. Next episode 13 is going to focus back on Carver's camp primarily. We'll probably see a little bit of other stuff, but it most likely will just be Carver's camp. The reason why I'm splitting these episodes like this is because I really want to show a sharp contrast between the two stories going on and then kind of show them combining a little bit. And obviously we have Kenny combining with Clementine's group now and their story, and eventually we'll see both these stories collide for sure, and it'll all make sense in the end, and it'll be awesome, basically. So I'm really excited for all that. But keeping the episodes separate from the different stories, to me, is kind of making it more, I guess, organized in a way, and I really like organized stories that aren't jumbled and all over the place. So I like how I'm doing it. Hopefully you guys are too. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.